The moment she told me not to sit next to her, I smiled, but not for the reason she thought. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe. My name is Ellaner. I'm 67, and for the past several years I've lived with my son, Michael, his wife, Vanessa, and my two precious grandchildren, Noah and Lily. Ever since my husband passed away, I've done everything I could to keep this family together. I cook, I clean, I care for the kids, and I've always tried to stay out of the way. Yet lately, I began to feel like a guest in my own home. Vanessa is polite in public, but behind closed doors, her subtle jabs are sharp enough to make me feel unwelcome. Sometimes it's just the way she folds the laundry or the way I set the table. Other times, it's more cutting. One afternoon, I tried to help in the kitchen. Vanessa sighed loudly, her voice dripping with irritation. "Ellaner, could you not hover while I cook? You'll just make a mess." I smiled weakly, stepping back. Michael walked in at that moment. He glanced between us, his face tired, and said softly, "Mom, just let Vanessa handle it." He didn't intend to hurt me, but his silence often cut deeper than her words ever could. The only ones who make me feel truly needed are Noah and Lily. After school, they run to me, chattering endlessly, showing their drawings, begging me to read their favorite books. With them, I still matter. But around the adults, I often feel invisible. So when Vanessa told me at dinner that night to sit somewhere else, it wasn't the first time she had tried to push me aside. But that evening, I was ready in a way she didn't expect. The dinner was no ordinary gathering. Vanessa had planned it meticulously, inviting Michael's closest relatives and even Mr. Harris, our longtime family lawyer. She called it a family dinner, but my instincts told me it was more than that. There was tension in the air that I couldn't ignore. The table was a display of perfection: polished silverware, sparkling glasses, neatly arranged dishes. Vanessa, radiant in a fitted dress, greeted everyone with a wide, practiced smile. To them, she was the perfect hostess. To me, she was performing yet again. Noah and Lily ran to me as soon as I entered the room. "Grandma, sit with us." Their voices warmed my heart, but Vanessa's voice cut across the room sharply. "Ellaner, why don't you sit at the far end tonight? We need space for the main discussion." The words stung, sharper than she probably intended, or perhaps she intended them to sting. The room went quiet. Eyes shifted toward me. Michael cleared his throat, avoiding my gaze. Humiliation pressed down on me, but I refused to let it show. Instead, I smiled politely and did the unexpected. I pulled out the chair next to Mr. Harris and sat down. The atmosphere shifted. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but my face remained calm. Mr. Harris gave me a subtle nod, a silent reassurance that I had chosen wisely. The conversation began lightly. Work, school, neighborhood gossip filled the air, while Vanessa laughed a little too loudly at her own jokes. Michael nodded tiredly. The children whispered to one another. But I could feel it, the undercurrent of tension, a storm waiting to break. Vanessa kept glancing at a folder near Mr. Harris, and I knew what it meant. Finally, after the plates were cleared, Vanessa leaned forward. Her smile sharpened. "Now that everyone's comfortable," she said, tapping the table lightly with manicured fingers, "we can get to the important part. Mr. Harris, do you have the documents?" My heart skipped a beat. The moment had arrived. These weren't ordinary papers. They were tied to my late husband's estate, the house, the savings he had worked tirelessly to secure. Vanessa's tone was confident, as though victory was already hers. She glanced around the table like a queen surveying her court. "It's time we finalize everything. Michael and I agree that it's best to put everything under one name for clarity." Her words hung heavy in the air. Michael remained silent, eyes downcast, a quiet confirmation of my fears. He had either agreed to this or had let it happen. Noah frowned, tugging on my sleeve. "Grandma, what does she mean?" I squeezed his hand, whispering, "Don't worry, sweetheart." Outwardly calm, inwardly my resolve grew. Vanessa turned her cold, calculating eyes toward me. "Ellaner, I'm sure you understand. It's just practical. At your age, it's easier if Michael and I handle everything. You shouldn't worry yourself with complicated matters." Her words were an attempt to erase me from the life my husband and I built, but I didn't react. I folded my hands neatly in my lap, facing Mr. Harris. The sound of his folder clicking open filled the air with an almost tangible tension. The room seemed to hold its breath. Vanessa's smug confidence assumed I was powerless, but what they didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for weeks. It began a month earlier. I had overheard Vanessa on the phone speaking in a low, sharp tone that carried through the walls. "Once everything is under our name, she won't be able to say a thing. The house, the savings, it'll finally be ours. Michael understands. It's just easier this way." I froze, gripping the laundry I was folding. Control. That's what this was about. Not practicality, not family. Control. They wanted to push me out completely. I sat alone that night staring at a photograph of my late husband. "You worked your whole life for this family," I whispered. "I won't let them dishonor your memory." The next day, I called Mr. Harris. He had been with us since my husband's earliest business dealings and had always been fair. When I explained what I had overheard, he listened carefully, nodding in concern. "Ellaner," he said gently, "your husband left very clear instructions. You are protected. A portion of the savings and the house is for you and the children. Vanessa cannot change that unless you willingly give it up." Relief washed over me, but alongside it came a new determination. Together, Mr. Harris and I secured the documents, reaffirming my legal authority over the house and establishing a trust fund for Noah and Lily. By the time the dinner arrived, I wasn't just ready. I was in control. So when Vanessa tried to push me aside, thinking she could silence me, I sat firmly beside Mr. Harris. It wasn't just a seat. It was a statement, a signal that I was right where I needed to be. I looked at Noah and Lily, their bright eyes innocent and trusting. This was about them, about protecting the life my husband and I had built. Vanessa had underestimated me. Age is not weakness. Wisdom brings patience, and patience can be more powerful than anger. As Mr. Harris prepared to open the folder, Vanessa's confidence remained unshaken. She believed the night belonged to her. Michael sat stiffly, guilt written across his face. The children sensed the importance but couldn't grasp the weight. I remained steady, my calm masking the storm inside. I caught Mr. Harris's eye. A small, subtle nod confirmed that everything was in place. The time for silence was nearly over. The moment of truth was approaching. And when it came, nothing in that room would be the same. The room was silent. Every eye on the folder, every heartbeat feeling like a drum roll. Mr. Harris adjusted his glasses and placed the thick folder on the table. The air grew heavy, almost electric. Vanessa leaned forward, her hands folded neatly, eyes sharp and expectant. Michael shifted uncomfortably, guilt and doubt flickering across his face. Noah and Lily pressed closer to me, sensing something important was about to happen, their small hands gripping mine. Mr. Harris cleared his throat and began, his voice firm and deliberate. "Before we start, I want to make one thing very clear. Your late husband, Jonathan Harris, left behind detailed instructions to ensure his family was cared for exactly as he intended. These documents are confirmations of his wishes, not new decisions. Vanessa's practiced smile faltered for a brief moment, but she quickly recovered. "Of course," she said sweetly. "We only want clarity. It's easier if everything is under one name, isn't it, Michael?" Michael hesitated, then nodded weakly. His voice lacked conviction. "Yes, just for simplicity." Mr. Harris ignored her entirely and opened the folder, pulling out the first document. This document confirms that ownership of the family home remains with Ellaner. The house was purchased jointly by Jonathan and Ellaner, and his passing does not alter her rights. She is the sole owner, and this will not be contested. The words landed like a thunderclap. Vanessa's eyes widened, her composure cracking. "What? That's not what we discussed." "I said nothing of the sort," Mr. Harris interrupted firmly. "The law is clear, and so were Jonathan's wishes. This house belongs to Ellaner. End of discussion." I looked at Vanessa directly, my voice calm but deliberate. "You asked me to sit somewhere else. I chose this seat so that my voice could be heard." Her face flushed red. For the first time, she had no clever retort. Mr. Harris continued, pulling out another document. "This document confirms that Jonathan also established a trust fund under Ellanor's guardianship. This fund is reserved for Noah and Lily's education and future needs. Ellaner alone has authority over how these funds are used. No one else may interfere." Noah's eyes widened. "Grandma, what's happening?" he whispered. I squeezed his hand and whispered back, "It means your future is safe." Vanessa slammed her hand on the table. "This is outrageous. Michael and I should control that money, not her. She's old. She doesn't know how to handle it." Mr. Harris's voice was steady, but every word carried weight. "With all due respect, Mrs. Vanessa, Jonathan entrusted his wife with these responsibilities because he knew her strength and integrity. Age is not a weakness. Experience is power." Vanessa's mouth opened as if to argue, but no words came. She sat back, lips pressed into a thin line, fury radiating from her eyes. Michael finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Vanessa, maybe we should stop. Mom deserves this. Dad wanted it this way. I should have defended you sooner. I'm sorry, Mom." The room shifted. The years of quiet humiliation, subtle jabs, and dismissive glances had culminated in this moment. I wasn't weak. I wasn't powerless. I had chosen the right time to act, and the truth now spoke louder than anyone's arrogance. "I spent my life building this family with your father," I said, voice steady and clear. "I cared for this home. I raised our son. I guide our grandchildren. I don't seek control for myself. I want to protect what your father built." Noah and Lily pressed closer to me, innocent trust shining in their eyes. This wasn't about documents or property. It was about love, security, and family. Vanessa stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "This isn't over," she snapped, but the power she expected to wield had vanished. Mr. Harris gathered the documents back into the folder, his expression unyielding. "It is over. Jonathan's wishes are clear. Ellaner is protected. The children are protected. Nothing can change that." Silence followed. Only the children whispered softly, and the faint clinking of glasses punctuated the quiet. I exhaled slowly, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders, not because I had won an argument, but because I had reclaimed my place with dignity and patience. The dinner table, once a stage of humiliation, had become a testament to truth and resilience. Vanessa's rage was powerless against the law and the foresight of a man who loved his family. Michael's guilt slowly softened, and the children's trust anchored the moment with innocence and hope. For years, I had endured subtle disrespect, feeling invisible in my own home, but now everyone had witnessed my strength. Not loud, not aggressive, but steady, calm, and unwavering. I looked around the table, meeting Vanessa's defeated gaze. She had tried to erase me, to make me feel like a relic of the past, but I was still here, stronger than she anticipated, prepared for the moment when truth would triumph. "Mom, thank you," Michael said quietly, his eyes brimming with remorse. "I should have seen this sooner." I smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, Michael. What matters is that we honor what your father built. That's all that matters." Noah and Lily clung to me, sensing the calm power in my presence. They didn't fully understand the legal intricacies or the trust fund, but they knew this: their grandmother had kept them safe. She had protected their home, their security, their family legacy. Vanessa finally left the table in silence, her energy spent, her words impotent. The veneer of control she had tried to display was gone, replaced by the undeniable fact: the truth had won. Mr. Harris closed the folder and gave me a small nod, a gesture that conveyed finality, justice, and support. The storm had passed. That night, at the very table where I had been pushed aside, I reclaimed my place in the family. Not through anger, not through confrontation, but through foresight, patience, and calm resolve. Everyone, Vanessa, Michael, the relatives, even the children, saw that I could not be erased. I had spent years nurturing, guiding, and protecting this family, and now, through careful planning and quiet determination, I ensured that the foundation laid by my late husband remained secure for generations to come. As I held Noah and Lily close, their small hands clasped in mine, I realized something profound. True strength isn't measured in force or dominance. It's measured in patience, wisdom, and knowing the exact moment to step forward. That night, at the dinner table, I didn't just protect documents and property. I preserved love, legacy, and the future of my family. And from that moment on, no one in that room, no one would ever underestimate me again.